Ask Dan Schneider. Jonathan Kay asked me, why do I have a grievance against people on the left wing of politics, especially in the sciences? And he goes on and mentions people like Richard Dawkins or Neil deGrasse Tyson, Sam Harris, Ray Kurzweil. Well, I don't have so much a thing in any personal sense. I'm not a particularly political creature, but I think that when someone classifies themselves as a liberal, they should know better than to engage in the kind of bullshit that a lot of right-wing people or a lot of religious people engage in. But clearly that is not so. I did shows on Ray Kurzweil and on Richard Dawkins about whether or not they were frauds. I wanted to do one, for example, on Noam Chomsky, the linguist, but I couldn't even find anyone to say anything against him. People who had written about Chomsky didn't want to say anything against him on recorded. But people like Dawkins, there's no reason for Dawkins to be so condescending and nasty against people who are religious. Most people who are religious are not religious because they're intellectually inferior. They have emotional needs or desires that make them feel that they need a god or something like that in their life. Someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson, I find him annoying where I didn't 10, 12 or more years ago, because he's basically just aping Carl Sagan. He's become the quote-unquote black Sagan or the 21st century Sagan, even to the point where he's redoing Cosmos. And I saw a few episodes of his new Cosmos on Netflix, and it's terrible compared to the original Cosmos. So here's a person who's basically a vampire on the life and career of someone else. And how the hell do you respect that? People like Kurzweil, how can you respect this guy who's clearly got mental issues? This is a guy who thinks he can resurrect his father by throwing enough information into a computer. He thinks that computers are going to become sentient and surpass humanity in 10 or 20 years. He keeps pushing the date farther and farther back. I think it's now in the 2030s that he thinks that's going to happen, even though most other experts say it'll probably be the end of this century before we even get the first real computers or androids that are, human-like in their abilities, if not a couple of centuries. And then, I mentioned Chomsky, and I think I've talked about him before. Chomsky is such an apologist for things. He was an apologist for communism. Now he's sort of an apologist for Islamism. And I'm just so sick and tired of these types of people. In this age where we have an idiot, an ass like Donald Trump as president, the opponents should be offering something better. They are not. Whether it's Hillary Clinton or Neil deGrasse Tyson or Richard Dawkins, the left is filled with terrible people of its own. And that is the thing that I have against them. Because they claim to be liberal, because they claim to be open-minded, they should be better than the people that they are criticizing, but they are not. And that is hypocrisy, and that is something that I just don't abide.